What's up, everybody? This is your boy Is Nefarious, and I am here on Thanksgiving morning. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. We're here for a league report video. Gonna bang this out early in the morning. I know I'm not gonna be available for most of the day to do it, so I can at least get this out before the festivities start. Um, First thing I want to tackle, as you know, in these videos, I like to give our new listeners and members that aren't a part of, well, that aren't members of the Premier Madden League, way to apply and possibly get in. So you'll go to premiermadden.com. We have our own website. As you can see, Premier spelt there. Also Madden, if you can't spell Madden. We might not want you in the league if you can't spell Madden, but premiermadden.com. On the information bar, you're gonna see a few things to click on. You're gonna want to click on apply, fill out the form. That's gonna be sent immediately to our commissioner once it's all done by email. There's gonna be an email that pops up in his. I don't know if he has a league email and then a personal email. Whatever email it's sent to, it pops up. He looks at your application. If you're all set, he'll invite you to a tournament, and then from there, you'll play in the tournament and possibly get into the Premier Madden League. If not, we do have a B League that we're running, a fantasy draft league, just for some practice for some Premier Madden guys, and then also to see these guys that are so-called on the waiting list uh, continuously play and, see if they're a true fit for the league. But if you, like I said, if you want to apply, go to the website premiermadden.com, hit apply on the information bar, and then you'll be all set. Another thing I want to talk about is I am not the only content out. Most people already know of the other content. You got SGO Sports Gamers Online. He runs a New York Giants web series. So if you're interested in that, I'll include the link in my description. We also have Cookie Boy. And for those of you that are not familiar with Cookie Boy, he is a YouTube personality that does a lot of mutt stuff and things like that. You'll see a bunch of his videos online. If you don't already know who Cookie Boy is, which you probably already do, I'm still going to include his link in my description for his Miami series that he's doing, since he is the Miami Dolphins. We also have Deloitte TV. He didn't give me his link. When I get his link, I'll probably include it in the description. He's doing a Pittsburgh Steelers series, and he's more of a 2K guy, I believe, and just recently started getting heavy into the CFM with the Premier Madden League. We also have Gooseneck Gamer. I don't know if he has a series. Then we have HD Little T. He's doing a Premier Madden League news spinoff of the league report. So I'm more stat based and numbers based. He's more of gossip and things like that. So if you find that interesting, I'm gonna include that link in my bio. We got Polar, who is the Bengals user. He's doing a series as well on the Bengals and also other stuff that he does in the league, like the fantasy pick'ems that we run. Um, but yeah, we got a bunch of content out there, a bunch of guys that provide more to the league than just play games, and be sure to check them out. You could also, once I get the directory to all streams, I'm gonna include that in the video as well. So I'll include that in the description. So if you're ever wondering, hey, when's this guy playing? When can I watch a live PML game? I'll have that directory up, and it won't really notify you. But if you're, looking through and then you see they're playing, you could hop on and take a look. But let's jump right into our league report video. If you're not aware, we first start with our game of the week, and we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions. The Lions were the game of the week last week, and they're gonna be the game of the week this week. Let's dive right into this highlights. So I'm gonna pull them up real quick. All right. So as you can see here, the Packers are actually in Detroit. going up against the Detroit Lions. We're going to pick it up late in the first, and it's going to be an inside zone, and Ty Johnson's able to muscle his way in, giving the Detroit Lions a 7-0 lead. Now we got the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers trying to answer back on their next drive. He's going to run a little mesh route here, and he's able to hit his tight end on a drag route, and he runs it in for the score, making it 7-6 after a missed field goal. So it's 7-6. We're gonna get a little weird for a switch there. The right guard and the left guard switched. Actually, that was the right tackle and the left guard switched. And it's gonna be a little pitch to Ty Johnson. He's gonna break to the outside. He's gonna get around the edge, right around the linebacker, or I mean the safety, and he's gonna take it right into the end zone, making it a 14-6 score. It's 14-6 here. We're 6 minutes left in the second quarter. We got the Green Bay Packers within the 2-yard line. He's going to hand it right off to his fullback or slash tight end. He's going to punch it into the end zone, making it a 14-14 game after a 2-point conversion. Here comes the Detroit Lions, 14-14 late in the second quarter. About 4 minutes left. He's going to make an audible, and then he's going to throw it deep. And it's caught for the touchdown. I believe that's Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay with a touchdown, making it 21-14. No, actually, that might be KJ Hamler that caught that. I don't know his exact number. We got Aaron Rodgers rolling out the pocket. He's going to hit his tight end once again. Broken down coverage there. He tried to come up for the interception, but nothing happened. So it makes it a 24-24 game. The Green Bay Packers, they're going to show blitz here. Mid-blitz look. It looks like Matthew Stafford's going to call a max protect to make sure that he doesn't get sacked in this situation. He's pointing out the blitz. And then he's going to hike the ball. They still get in on the blitz, and he's going to toss it up, and it's caught again. What a nice catch that was, making it 31-24. A huge catch, giving them a lead. Here comes the Green Bay Packers later in the fourth quarter. 8 minutes to go, so he still has plenty of time. He's going to hit his wide receiver with a drag route, and he fumbles on it, and he's going to take it back. The Detroit Lions are running it back. He's able to bounce off a few guys, and he's going to continue rolling, and he gets into the end zone, making it 38-24. That was a weird run, bouncing off a couple of his own guys. And as you can see, 38-24, it's going to be a handoff to Ty Johnson once again, and he gets around the edge inside the pylon, making it 45-24. So the Green Bay Packers were once in a good place. Now they're far behind. They're going to have to make something happen. Again, he's going to hit his tight end up the seam. A nice catch there. The Sternberger is having a great game. 45-31. Here comes the Green Bay Packers late in the fourth. They need 2 scores, so they need a score, and they also need to get a onside recovery. Let's see what they're able to do. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to try to throw deep once again to Valdez-Scantling, and it's intercepted. Going to put the ice on this one. Well, going to ice this game, and that's going to do it, folks. 45-31. The Detroit Lions improved to 5-0. The Green Bay Packers dropped to 2-2. After coming off a bye week, they weren't able to get the win here. Aaron Rodgers had a good game, though. 24 of 35, 427 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sternberger was on fire, 8 receptions, 147 yards, and 3 TDs. And Devontae Adams also had a good game, but didn't hit the end zone. 6 receptions for 118 yards. Then you got Matthew Stafford, who was 13 for 20, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ty Johnson had himself a game, 23 carries, 147 yards, and 3 TDs. And we also, let me spin that back real quick. We got Kenny Galladay with 3 receptions, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown. I wanted to take that fade out of the highlight video, but that didn't really work out for me. So let's move back into the slideshow. And let's take a look for around the league and see some of the scores. You got the 49ers getting their first win of the season. I believe it's their first win. I got to double check that. It might be their second one. Getting their second win of the season, 48-20 against the Los Angeles Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he only completed 10 of 13 passes, so he didn't really have to throw the ball much. 279 yards. Matt Breida had a good game, 8 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown. And then we had the Bears against the Vikings, and the Bears manhandled the Vikings 41-17. Mitchell Trubisky was 22 of 28, 344 yards and two touchdowns. And then Trey Burton had six receptions for 90 yards and two touchdowns. Then we had the Colts who beat the Texans 34 to 29. Good game there. Didn't expect it to be as close. Jacoby Brissett was 17 of 24, 319 yards, three touchdowns and an interception. Interception. Then we had Naheem Hines with 21 carries, 111 yards, and two touchdowns. We had the Miami Dolphins beating the Los Angeles Chargers 43 to 10. Really manhandling Q and his Chargers. I guess he wasn't really prepared for this one. Josh Rosen was 16 for 20, 232 yards, three touchdowns. Colin Johnson, seven receptions, 112 yards, and two touchdowns. Uh, that's a good sign for the Miami Dolphins. He looked good in the preseason. It looks like he's going to get him more involved in the regular season. Also, it's nice to see Josh Rosen is back after having a really good year last year. They moved on to Khalil Tate for some reason, but they switched back, and that's a good sign for the Miami Dolphins offense, as this is the first time they ever broke past 20, I believe. Um, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Tennessee Titans 33 to 23. Tua was 21 of 26 for 273 yards, two touchdowns and an interception. And then Leonard Fournette had 132 yards on 21 carries for two touchdowns. Then we got the Raiders beating the Broncos this time. After getting blown out 45 to 9, they're able to beat the Broncos 45-38. So flipping the tide there. Derek Carr was 15 of 24, 394 yards, five touchdowns, and two interceptions. I believe it's Tyrell Williams had five receptions, 161 yards, and one touchdown. I believe Antonio Brown also went down in this game, or it was last week actually, because they had him on the injury report last week. So first game without Antonio Brown is a success. Used Tyrell Williams, so that's good for him. We're gonna move on to the Redskins and the Bengals, 41 to 21. The Redskins were all over the Bengals. Dwayne Haskins Jr., 12 of 17 for 358 yards, three touchdowns, and one interception. One interception. Bryce Love had 14 carries, 150 yards, and two touchdowns. We also had the Saints over the Seahawks, 45 to 22. Drew Brees was 18 of 24, 296 yards, three touchdowns, two interceptions. To Bucky Hodges, the athletic tight end, finally had a good game. Nine receptions, 157 yards, and two touchdowns. And then we had the Cardinals over the Patriots. Brett Hundley was 20 of 26, 211 yards, two touchdowns, and one interception. And then we had David Johnson with 17 carries, 138 yards, and one touchdown. This was actually a simulated game, so this was computer versus computer, and I believe the first one went to the Cardinals because the Patriots weren't able to play the game. Um, Let's move on to the next slide. For the rest of our games, we got the Giants over the Cowboys, 52 to 30. Was a really good game starting out, then kind of took off towards the second half and never looked back with the New York Giants. Daniel Jones, 17 of 27, 333 yards, four TDs, three interceptions, and then Evan Ingram had four receptions, 101 yards, and three TDs. The Atlanta Falcons just barely beat the Carolina Panthers 28-27. Matt Ryan was 17 of 26, 19 of 26, 344 yards, two touchdowns, and four interceptions. And then we had Calvin Ridley, 10 receptions, 190 yards, and two touchdowns. Before I move on from this game, this is something I want to address. More of a league news story, but we'll address it here. Apparently, the Atlanta Falcons lost connection in a close game. I believe it was 28 to 21. Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers had the ball at the time, and the drive before he disconnected, the Atlanta Falcons did see Calvin Ridley go down to injury. So here's a few things about this game. This was a dev story game. For you, those of you that don't know, this is what dev story is. Madden included a development story within your Madden franchise where your player performs a certain way or gets certain statistics, and they're able to up their development from a star to a superstar or a superstar to superstar X Factor. I don't think I've seen that, but it's basically been normal to star or star to superstar. Calvin Ridley had one of these. Now, I don't remember Falcons really disconnecting from any of his games recently, but he disconnected from this one after Calvin Ridley ended up getting injured. So it's very, very questionable, very, very sketchy that happened, and that's just something I wanted to bring up. Did he disconnect, or did you know he pulled the plug just because he lost Calvin Ridley, who's getting that development story? It's going to be up to the people to tell. It's just something you can't prove, so nobody really knows. We got this. Let's move on though. We got the Bills over the Steelers, 55-42. Joe Flacco was 20 of 28, taking over for the suspended Josh Allen. 20 of 28, 375 yards and 5 touchdowns. Sammy Watkins had 6 receptions, 194 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then we had the Chiefs over the Browns, 31-14. Patrick Mahomes was 7 of 14, 194 yards, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. And then we had Tyreek Hill with 2 receptions, 99 yards and a touchdown. So a good game from Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs. Let's move on to our PML injury report. So here are some new faces on the injury report, and as you can see here, it's a new face but an old face. We got Dalvin Cook, who was back for maybe 1.5 games, maybe 2.5 games, and now he's back on the injury report. 7 weeks he'll be down after getting injured once again for the Buffalo Bills. So that's a tough hit after making a trade and giving up some assets. Dalvin Cook, he hasn't got anything out of him so far. So it looks like the Minnesota Vikings win that trade so far. You move on. You got Todd Gurley, a big name on the injury report, another running back. You got DeAndre Hopkins, the wide receiver, a huge name. So both Todd Gurley and DeAndre Hopkins, both huge names for the teams. DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss 7 weeks. Todd Gurley is going to miss 7 weeks. We got Kyle Rudolph. He actually was injured previously. I couldn't really tell. I couldn't remember if I included him on the injury report before. He's out for 4 more weeks. He was probably on one of the first injury reports and out for a while, but he's got 4 more weeks on his injury. Besides Kyle Rudolph, just 3 injuries this week. 3 new injuries, 3 new big injuries. Um, and those are really big names, especially with Todd Gurley and DeAndre Hopkins. Dalvin Cook, I mean, yes and no. He is a really good back, but he's not, DeAndre Hopkins, 99 overall. Todd Gurley, who I think is like 94 or some crap like that. But that's going to do it for the injury report. Let's move on to the PML on the block. So this is going to be a little bit different. Instead of just posting the names that are on the block, I went in, got some names. Some of these guys you've seen already, some of these guys you have not. So let's go into it. We're going to talk about the name and the possible places that could use them. So we got Philip Lindsay, who's at 87 overall. It's been on the block for a long time. He was on one of our first on the blocks when we first started this. But Philip Lindsay, you take a look at some possible places that might want him. You got the Washington Redskins, who are on a winning who are a winning team, and they are gonna make a playoff push. So Philip Lindsay, they might want to give up some prospects or some assets to get Philip Lindsay. Having Philip Lindsay in that backfield for the Washington Redskins would be really deadly. I mean, they got Bryce Love, but Bryce Love is still developing. Having Philip Lindsay would be much better for the team. Now, if I was the Redskins and I was in his position, I would definitely make this trade. I believe they even got the cap to sign him after his year's up this year, after his rookie deal's up this year. So Redskins is number one. They should definitely go for him. Green Bay Packers, they're 2-2 now, I believe. Um, they're another team. They could be in the hunt later on. They got if they get a good running back. They don't have Aaron Jones right now, who's injured, and they don't really, have much of a running game. So if they're able to get Philip Lindsay and he changes that, the Green Bay Packers could make some noise. Um, it's a really solid pickup for them. So that's somebody I would say should look for that. If they don't think they're going to contend, then maybe you just ignore it. But definitely look for Philip Lindsay. He's still young, so you could have him for years to come and try to contend the following year if you have the cap space to re-sign him. Uh, Last but not least, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is kind of the situation where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably not going to make the playoffs. But if you want a young back to build for the future, you got Philip Lindsay. You could sign him or trade some assets away, so you don't have to deal with anybody in free agency, and you could just re-sign him during his re-sign phase. Um, it's a good option if you want that to be your back of the future, especially with a team that has plenty of cap and has room to develop. You got Marvin Jones, who's an 84 overall. He's a wide receiver. If for those of you who don't know, and a few teams that could use him, you get the Denver Broncos, who outside of Henry Ruggs don't really have much in the wide receiver spectrum. They could definitely use. They're going to be a contender, so they could definitely use Marvin Jones on the opposite side. Definitely be a good fit there. Uh, if he's especially if he's running two wide receiver sets or maybe even three. I mean, Cortland Sutton is not anything special. I think Marvin Jones would be an improvement of that. He is an 84 overall, and he would automatically, I believe, jump to his best wide receiver. I believe Henry Ruggs is only like an 82, 83. So he'd jump into that best wide receiver on paper type of deal. So the Denver Broncos are one. Then the Washington Redskins should definitely look at Marvin Jones. They have they need some wide receivers over there. They don't really have much in the wide receiver spectrum. So they should definitely look as a contending team. Then you got the Kansas City Chiefs, who outside of Tariq Hill don't really have much. They have McCole Hardman, but he is not really solid with his catching skill, his catching ability. He is very athletic. If you're looking more for somebody that could catch the ball and be more reliable in catching in traffic, Marvin Jones is the guy for him. Then you got Larry Warford, my right guard. He's on the block. A few teams, Miami Dolphins, whose offensive line really needs help. Then you got the New York Jets, who need help on their offensive line, and the Minnesota Vikings. All teams that are going to contend need help on offensive line. They all could really use Walford. 79 overall is actually really good when it comes to offensive linemen in this game. So those are all teams that should be hit by DMs looking for him, and actually one already has. Let's take a look at the power rankings. This is last week's power rankings. As you can see here, there was a bunch of movement. Um, yeah, the Jets moving up. The Patriots, the Broncos, a bunch of movement on this power rankings. We move on to next week's, and it's kind of the same movement. You got the Colts and the Lions moving up after a loss from the Dallas Cowboys, and then you got the Dolphins and Falcons, who both had good wins, moving up to 10 and 11, and then the Patriots and Broncos move down. Now they got the same record, and you kind of ask why they move down, why they move up. It's like they kind of flip flopped. Well, the story of that is the Patriots got a loss from the Arizona Cardinals, who's a low ranked team, and then the Denver Broncos got a loss from the Oakland Raiders, who are a low ranked team. So those two losses to lower ranked teams definitely hurt your power rankings a little bit. If it was a loss to, let's say, any team that was in the like if it was a loss to the Minnesota Vikings or the Jets or the Cowboys or so on and so forth, anybody up there, then they probably would have stood in the same spot and nobody would have moved. But those two losses are losses that you can't really afford, and those take a hit on your power rankings. You take a look over here. We got the Oakland Raiders moving up one, and me moving down one. The reason for that is the Oakland Raiders beat the Broncos, so they beat a good team. I only beat the Seahawks, so I didn't really beat a top tier team. So that's why I kind of gave the nod to the Oakland Raiders over me. He had the stronger matchup and pulled out the win in the stronger matchup. Then we got the Arizona Cardinals who move up on that one, and the Houston Texans move down. As you can see, we got three, four, five. We got six teams that are still winless, and they're all going to be bunched up. Since the Arizona Cardinals got the win, I knocked them up one, so they moved to 26. Since it was a simulated game, they didn't really move up as much. Um, but that's pretty much gonna do it for these power rankings. You got Mold, the Bears. He stays at first, 5-0, winning easy so far this season. I think the toughest game he has was last week against the Giants, or the week before. Then you got the Buffalo Bills in third. He's rolling as well, and the Detroit Lions are still undefeated, and he's continues rolling. And then you look at the Jets, who's undefeated. So we got one, two, three, four. We got four undefeated teams to six winless teams. So that tells you how competitive this league is. You know, most leagues have like eight eight teams undefeated, and then like 10 teams winless and stuff like that. But we got a lot of competitiveness in this. We got a lot of 2-2s, 3-2s, 2-3s. Everybody's in the middle of the pack is so close because of how competitive it is. Let's jump into the PML league leaders. We're gonna start with receiving TDs. We got Henry Ruggs, who has eight and leading the league at one, and then we got Amari Cooper, Sammy Watkins, Paris Campbell, and then Marquise Goodwin, all tied for second with seven. There's nobody in sixth with seven. This was when I did this. I got this, I believe, yesterday morning. I pulled this out and got it. So I had it for work. So on lunch break, I could go ahead and you know, dabble a bit and get these done. We got our receiving yards leaders. We got Henry Ruggs in first with 797. Then we got Amari Cooper, who's well behind in second with 591. We got Anthony Miller in third with 585. AJ Green in fourth with 581. And then T. Higgins in fifth with 562. That's a surprise. T. Higgins on the worst team in the league right now, but he's still putting up numbers. You take a look at the receptions leaders. We got Anthony Miller with 37 in first. Then we got Henry Ruggs in second with 35. T. Higgins in third with 31. Ian Thomas in fourth with 31. And then Calvin Ridley in fifth with 29. So, solid season from Henry Ruggs. He's first, respectively, in receiving yards and receiving TDs, and he's second in receptions. So he's having a hell of a season. Shout out to the Denver Broncos and Henry Ruggs doing their thing over there. Then that's pretty much going to do it for our video. Wasn't sure if I had anything else, but that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. We're already 28 minutes in, so this is a longer video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following the league report. Hopefully, you continue to do so, and hopefully more people find out about this league, and hopefully we could possibly get a real Premier Madden B League going, where you got kind of the English Premier League type of feel, where you got moving teams up and down based on their seasons. But that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and you have a happy Thanksgiving.